violence against Indigenous women that has occurred during COVID-19. Do you believe that inaction is an appropriate response? You had at least 8 months prior to COVID. Chief Commissioner Buller notes that for that excuse to be used, that is an embarrassment to the government. Women, girls, 2S, LGBTQIA people continue to go missing and die. When will a national action plan be released?
Well, firstly, thank you for your advocacy, but I also want to say that that the work commenced immediately after the National Inquiry report was tabled. The Assistant Deputy Ministers' committees were struck amongst all the provinces and territories. Right after the election, we were able to begin funding the Indigenous organizations that needed to engage with their people. Those reports are only recently in because of some of the delays of COVID, but the work continues, and the response to the interim report. We will not let these families and survivors down. We're going to get this done, and and lots of people believe that this, because of the intensity of the kind of discovery of wise practices and respect across the country.
Minister Bennett, with all due respect, that is not an acceptable response. Families, advocates, and even the commissioners have voiced their concerns over the lack of transparency. In a letter, the commissioners themselves called it 1 year of inaction with a lack of transparency, in quotes. When I tried to get answers from you about when you will release a national action plan, you simply told me to go look at a website. Last month, Hilda Anderson Pierce of Manitoba MMIWG2S Coalition said, in quotes, "It is really concerning for me as a family member and as an advocate that we've heard nothing." And this is what we've been hearing from family members across the country. You promised again today not to let them down. It's too late. And your frantic scrambling we have witnessed over the last weeks clearly demonstrated that you have wasted at least 8 months since the release of the report, despite your promise to have it 1 year following its tabling. Can you grace this committee with at least the stage at which the National Action Plan is at?
Yes, thank you. And I really do dispute the word inaction. From the half day I spent with the federal and provincial territorial ministers on the status of women in December, where we asked them to begin identifying their wise practice and begin building their plan. We have been doing the same at the federal level. So I am impressed by the work that's been going on, and particularly by the Manitoba Coalition. They had
again, Minister, those are not my words. Those are the words of commissioners and family members and victims of violence. I have one last question because I have a limited amount of time. A year ago, when the MMIWG2S report was released, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Michelle Blanchet, stated, in quotes, "It is very important that Canada will make an action plan a national action plan," end of quotes. It has been over a year now since the report was released, and the international community can see that nothing has been done with respect to the ongoing human rights violations against Indigenous women, girls, and 2S LGBTQIA plus individuals. Did your government expect to secure a UN Security Council seat when you clearly turned a blind eye to the human rights violations at home and abroad, in violation of your domestic and international human rights obligations, including your failure to release a national action plan?
I think the comment that's the most important in what you've read there is the fact that it needs to be a national action plan. This is not a federal report that I can just write and table. This has to have the partnership of every single province and territory, and we have that.
Reiterating your promise, Minister. Your government promised to have a national action plan tabled 1 year after the report is released. These are not my words. This is your government's words. When will the national action plan be released? I would like a date.
1 minute.
We see this as urgent as well, and we will work with our provinces and territories and the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis partners, our two-spirited partners. The an urban plan. We need a really good plan. But the most important thing I would like you to help me with would be, what would be the indicators that you would say that we would be able to show?
Almost a year, Minister, to figure all of these things out. The fact that you've now reneged on your promise, I would like to show your commitment about your indicating that this is urgent by actually having a national action plan. What date can we expect a national action plan?
We will have a national action plan when our partners believe that it is appropriate to release with a consensus, and that we are working with our partners to make that as soon as possible.
Thanks.